So with all new Venom coming to an end with this issue, for a portion of this, Al Ewing takes the time to settle a number of character arcs to lay the groundwork for what's coming next, which will be the series returning to the proper Venom title that for some reason I think is going to be packed with a ton of familiar faces. But with the way that all new Venom is coming to a close, there are certain things about the Venom symbiote's past that are likely going to play a huge role for what's to come, so we gotta talk about it. But first, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so coming back, the first thing we do is pick up with Flash, Rick, Sleeper, and Toxin shortly after their prison break from North Brother Island. And right now, as they're laying low at this abandoned factory, Rick Jones is kind of freaking out, because between him, Flash, and all new Venom, Rick is the only person out of the group who is unmasked, so to speak. Because the Scar team, they still think Flash is dead, even though, like many of you mentioned in the last video, this new look that Flash is doing while he's wearing the Toxin symbiote, it's very Agent Anti-Venom with a fresh coat of paint. And you guys had me cracking up with all your remarks saying how it's the same, but different, but still the same. But nonetheless, with Flash, the Scar team doesn't know that he came back, and aside from him, when it comes to all new Venom, they still don't know who's in the symbiote. But Flash makes a point here to tell Rick that he really doesn't have anything to worry about, because for one, Rick was under the control of the Sleeper symbiote, and Rick could just put them on blast for nearly allowing a crazed supervillain to cut his brain open. So Flash tells Rick all he has to do is write that in a column at the Bugle and basically blow the horn. But Rick only sees that as a way to put an even bigger target on his back. But then when Flash tries to tell him that it's more like a bargaining chip, and how he knows these people, and how when you got a little leverage, it's easy to make them do what you want. And then right here, the Toxin symbiote just jumps off of Flash, screaming. It burns. Because this whole time that Flash was wearing the Toxin symbiote, it was like a last-ditch effort way to provide a host for Toxin, who otherwise would have died at North Brother Island. But the whole time, Flash was suppressing his anti-venom within himself so it wouldn't harm Toxin. But ultimately, he didn't hold it in deep enough. So now Toxin is basically bursting into flames, and he can't go back to Flash, for obvious reasons. And while this is going on, we kind of know what needs to happen here, and it's pretty obvious in a funny way, because right here when Rick is like, is it or is he going to be okay? Sleeper's just like, no Rick, no, he isn't. Flash kept Toxin stable, but couldn't provide any of the chemicals a symbiote needs. He'll starve to death in a few more minutes. And it's funny because Sleeper doesn't have the best social skills. He spent most of his life in space after lobotomizing Telcar before coming back to Earth years later. But right now, since Flash can't be Toxin's host anymore, he's basically like, okay, so what can I do? Because he's like, he's not just gonna let Toxin die, because there's gotta be a convenience store nearby where they can get some chocolates since it has phenethylamine in it. But Sleeper's like, that's not gonna be enough, because Toxin's too weak to process it in that form. He needs it fresh. So Rick is like, there's gotta be something we can do. And here's what I mean by, we know where this is going. Because here's where Sleeper's like, there's one thing, Rick, but you said no, and I respect that. And of course, Rick knows what needs to be done. But Sleeper goes on to say here, it's worse than starvation in a way. Humans get hungry for simple nutrients, but a symbiote hungers for connection. We're the only species in the entire universe who can actually die of loneliness. And it's almost like Sleeper might as well tell Rick, hey, if Toxin dies, it's on you. Like he wants Rick to feel every ounce of guilt here. But for right now, we can only hope that Toxin doesn't die, let alone of loneliness here. Because if anyone's gonna die of loneliness anytime soon, it better be Paul. And I mean that in the nicest way. Because right now, back at MJ's apartment, Paul is still in shock from the breakup from the last issue. He's trying to figure out what he did wrong, or if there's anything he could say to convince MJ to change her mind, or to prove that she's wrong about the two of them. But MJ's standing on business here because she said what she said, and it's over. And for Paul, who's still trying to wrap his head around this, he still admits that MJ's right, because things haven't been great for them lately, and he hasn't been great for them lately. So MJ takes accountability here too, because she's just like, let's just say we both weren't great for the both of us. And that's where Paul says all three of us, which now just drags Venom into all of this. And Paul's like, he didn't mean to bring that up, even though he did, but he appreciates Venom staying out of it. But after that, Paul's like, wait, is Venom listening? And MJ's not sure, because Venom's just been very quiet this whole time. And Venom hasn't been this quiet since they bonded. So Paul tells her that she should bring Venom out, or manifest him, so the three of them can have a talk about what they should do now, mainly pertaining to Dylan. Because with Paul and MJ no longer together, they still got to figure out Dylan's whole situation, as far as who he's staying with or what have you. And this is where Dylan comes out from his room and steps into the conversation. And he's just like, hey, don't let me stop you. We're one big happy family, right? So everything you said behind my back, you can say to my face. It's not like you got any deep, dark secrets I don't know about, right? Right? And really, if you think about it, Dylan's got a good reason to be upset here, because for a while, everyone's been making decisions for him and making plans for him, while leaving him out of these decisions and plans. But right here, man, when Paul tries to tell Dylan that this isn't the best time, Dylan goes into full savage mode, because he tells Paul, because you got dumped, because you found out somebody you thought cared about you doesn't want to be in your life. What's a better time, Paul? We're finally on the same page. And right after that, MJ steps into the line of fire, because when she tries to tell Dylan it's not what you think, Dylan stops her mid-sentence. He's like, what? Are you gonna lie now? After Top Knot gave it all away? Because you're not that good an actress, MJ. And it's just like, man, Dylan, chill. But also, this is how MJ finds out that Dylan found out through Paul, who let it slip just outside the bugle. But focusing on what's most important right now, which is definitely Dylan. This says MJ like, never mind. The important thing here is that we do want to be in your life, Dylan. We do care about you. We all need you to be safe and secure. And that includes Venom. And that basically has Dylan like, well, why am I hearing it from you and not Venom? Which is where MJ has Venom come forward. And I mean, she was about to before Dylan popped up. But now this sets the stage for Venom to have a word with Dylan, which is long overdue. Have a word with Paul, which will give him even more to think about. And after that, MJ. But right now, starting out with Dylan, who again has every right to be upset. Right here, Dylan's like, then let's hear it, Dad. Let's hear why I had to go looking all over the city for you when you were right here. Why you stood in front of me in that warehouse and pretended you weren't living with me. Why I could know MJ was jackpot, but not know she was with you. Let's hear why you lied to your own son. I can't wait. And now when Venom begins to explain this, it starts out like the age-old reasoning of, oh, I was doing what was best for you. But it all really just comes down to the deal that was made with Flash to keep Dylan from being locked up at North Brother Island, where he likely would have been used for research. But then also there's the whole thing of keeping the identity of all new Venom a secret, because Venom feels like if people knew that him and MJ were bonded, not only would that attract more danger to Dylan, but it would also risk Flash's deal, which was already fragile from the jump. And with Venom explaining this, it has Paul like, oh, is that why MJ didn't tell me? And Venom's just like, nope, she made that decision all on her own. Sorry, Paul. And I mean, Paul just walked right into that one. But even with Dylan knowing the truth now, it still hurts, because he says to Venom here, so your big excuse for treating me like an idiot is that you think I'm an idiot. You didn't trust me to keep my mouth shut? After everything we've been through, you don't trust me. And for Venom, it's like, no, I can't see you get hurt again, as Dylan runs off crying, saying, yeah, well, great job on that. 5 stars, as he runs to his room and slams the door. And now right here, Paul, he makes a suggestion like, okay, he'll go and talk to Dylan since he's the person that Dylan's least mad at. And there's even a moment here where Venom's like, you know, I'm sorry MJ didn't tell you, and I'm sorry about the whole breakup thing. And Paul's just like, no, you're not. And Venom's like, you're right. That was a lie. But I didn't see it coming either, and you did your best to keep Dylan safe. That means a lot. And as far as Paul's concerned, he wants to continue to be there for Dylan, because he's like, Dylan's a good kid and he deserves a good home. But that's when it dawns on Paul that this is MJ's apartment, and Paul's just gonna have to find another place to stay, which is another big oof. But as Venom gets ready to leave with MJ, Paul asks if Venom really didn't see it coming. So Venom tells him, I don't spy on her thoughts, and I wanted this to be a safe place for Dylan. But that's the big problem, isn't it? To be really safe, he can't be around me. And now when Venom and MJ leave here, it's kind of hilarious, because Venom says here, well, we need to go check on the others, referring to Toxin, Flash, and everyone else. And Venom says to MJ here like, oh, if that's okay with you. And there's a moment here where MJ's like, you know, if I wanted to stay, could you stop me? The host is in charge, right? That's what you said earlier. And it's here where Venom tells MJ, I can do some things alone. Initiate a bond, break the bond, present circumstances aside, but even when I took control of Peter's body while he was asleep, and right there MJ is like, what? And Venom tries to explain it here like, I just acted out his needs as I understood them. It's complicated, but effectively, for me, at least, the host runs the show. And that's where MJ's like, then we're overdue for a talk. You and me, about your hosts and what they did. And right there, I'm just like, not sure if it's a great idea for MJ to know everything about Venom's previous hosts and what they did. So following this, MJ's like, let's find somewhere quiet first. I don't want any interruptions. And she suggests that they go under the water tower. And I gotta say, from what I've heard, hanging out underneath a water tower, it's more private of a place than most would imagine. Some would say even for a date, you know, with it being 200 feet above street level. And you know, I just find it kind of funny how MJ would pick this spot heading into this specific conversation. But as they're heading here, Venom basically lets her know that he can do her one better by showing her how to access Venom's hive, which is literally much quieter and without any of the interruptions. And now going into this, it looks a lot like what we've seen in the previous Venom series, which followed the conclusion of King in Black, where we saw the whole thing where Eddie was hiding the Necro sword from Dylan, or even back when Natasha Romanoff had her symbiote and they found Venom's hive. And to MJ's surprise, she's now dressed in what she says is her favorite outfit for meetings, and it's mainly because as the host, she's able to shape her mental image, and to their surprise, she does the same for Venom, which has him looking like an all-new Short King in black. But Venom goes on to let her know if MJ pushed a little more, she could probably shape this whole landscape, which would be similar to what we saw Meridius do at one point. But next, Venom asks MJ what it was that she wanted to talk about, and right away out of nowhere, they're suddenly met by the arrival of Classic Venom, and I mean seemingly out of nowhere. Because really, this is MJ starting their conversation, because by having Classic Venom just pop up here, the size of a building, and saying, "Hi honey, I'm home." At first, this startles the Venom symbiote, and she did this as a way to show the Venom symbiote what she had went through when they first met, because she says here, "Scary, isn't he? Those were my boyfriend's clothes. Imagine that waiting for you when you came home. The person you love turning into a stranger, exploding into violence. He reminds me of my father. Isn't that horrible? Dad used to hit Mom, or Gail, but not me. Never me. And neither did you. I'm not sure you even broke any furniture. You just made it really clear that you could. You could hurt me, kill me, right there in my own home, in my boyfriend's clothes. And you wanted me to know that. That was the point, to make me terrified of you. Worked like a charm." So the Venom symbiote tries to make an explanation here, but MJ continues, and she says, "What are you now? A wearable sidekick? A single father? A goofy roommate? Felix to my Oscar? Will to my Grace? Mork to my Mindy?" And oh man, Mork and Mindy, that's a throwback. But MJ's like, "Look at you. If I shape things here, that says it all. And you keep telling me, like it matters, that you don't make decisions. It's the host. Always the host. So who was the host, Venom?" And that's where in a soft tone, he's just like, "Eddie." And now this kind of takes us back to a question that we were asked not too long ago. Back when we were covering symbiosis necrosis in Venom issue 231, heading into Venom War, where at the time when Carnage was looking for Eddie, Carnage went searching through the memories of the Venom symbiote, who at the time Dylan was bonded to. And this allowed Dylan to see the insanely violent past that the Venom symbiote was trying to hide, while bonded with his mother as She-Venom, which led to her having a bloodlust and losing her mind, as well as Venom's dark past with Eddie. And around this time, it kind of posed the question, because in the early days, we didn't really see the Venom symbiote's dialogue, though Eddie would often talk to it and refer to the both of them as we, and over time it would be explained like, okay, the Venom symbiote hadn't formed the personality yet, and after that it was then re-explained with, retroactive continuity back in Venom First Host, when we learned how Venom was previously used as a Kree weapon during the Kree Skrull War. And these were all memories that were locked away through a very complex method of hypnosis, which is why Venom didn't remember his past after being taken from Telkar. And these memories were restored to Venom much later on. But ever since we got this new history for the Venom symbiote, I've always thought of it like, okay, when Peter donned the symbiote in Secret Wars, its memories were suppressed, but there was always this dark nature in the symbiote, going from Peter to Eddie, that truly started with Venom's first host, Telkar, who we saw come off as a nice guy in the beginning to get what he wanted, before revealing his very dark nature. So even with the symbiote's memories suppressed, it still carried over a lot of the dark qualities of Telkar. So it makes sense going back and seeing how the symbiote had this dark side with Peter, and even more so with Eddie, since symbiotes carry over traits from their previous host. So now looking back on how bad Venom was with Eddie, we don't go into all the past details here, but Venom's just like, I should have done something. And MJ knows enough to say at the time Venom wasn't really a person yet, and it's like she doesn't want to give him a pass for it. And again, back then the symbiote's memories were wiped. It was functioning as instructed with a lot of violent attributes locked away. And that's the updated history, but MJ doesn't know any of this. So she goes on to say here, does that earn you forgiveness? Now that you've learned how to speak? Now that you've learned how to give an empty apology? And now, I mean, for a moment here, I gotta say, MJ's starting to piss me off, because all she can think about is herself, and she doesn't even know about Venom's history coming from Clintar, going to Telkar, and then heading into the original Secret Wars. All she's capable of acknowledging in this moment is her own experience. And the saddest thing about it is the fact that right now, while her and Venom are merged together, not even bonded, it's closer than that. She's in the position to get those answers, but the last thing on her mind is asking the question, why? Why did Peter find the symbiote like this? What happened before? But either way, I like where this goes because Venom gets a good word in by the end of this conversation. But before that, MJ goes on to ask. She's like, here's a moral question. Since you've learned what morals are, do you regret it, Venom? Do you know it was wrong? And Venom's just like, of course I do. And that's where she asks, then why do you still love him? And I really like how Venom responds to this, though I'm afraid it just goes right over MJ's head because she has tunnel vision based on what she knows and what she's been through. And in no way does that mean MJ's anger is not valid. But until she prepares her mind and her heart to listen, to truly listen, she'll never get the answers to any of these questions. But right here, when Venom responds to MJ's question about Eddie, Venom goes on to tell her because he's more than that. He can be more. We can be more. And that's where MJ starts to brush this off like Venom's coming at her with a I can change him type of story. And this is where Venom starts dropping bars, in my opinion. Because Venom says we can change each other. We have changed each other. And it started when he took me in, when he was there for me, like I was there for you. Because keep in mind, back in All New Venom issue 6, when we got the backstory of how MJ was disintegrating and Venom saved her by the two of them fusing together, there was a moment back then when they were telling this story to Robbie and Paul, when MJ asked Venom when he saved her, what was Venom thinking? And at the time Venom told her he was thinking, what would Spider-Man do? But now Venom lets her know he said that at the time for Robbie's benefit. And he goes on to say to MJ here, you know what Peter Parker did when he found out I was a living creature. He imprisoned me, and then he tried to kill me. He tried to sacrifice his own life to make me die. So when I saved both our lives, I wasn't doing what Spider-Man would do. I was doing what Eddie did for me. And I'm just like, yep, that's facts. But of course, MJ just goes on to be very cynical about it by saying he was just a tool for Eddie, or the right revenge weapon. And Venom's not even completely sure if that was the case. And if so, maybe that's how it started. But all Venom knows now is that he wants Eddie back. And at the end of this conversation, MJ is just like, I never want to see or hear or think about him again. And I want your son to have a better life. So given all that, we should probably find a way to split up soon. Don't you think? And that's where Venom is just like, right, we're not friends. I keep forgetting that. And you know, this moment with Venom, it kind of reminds me of those memes where the girl tells the guy to stop acting a certain way. And from that moment forward, dude is just serious. Because it almost feels like Venom's just going to be dry from here on out. Like, word, okay, yeah, that's cool. I don't know, it kind of just gives me that feeling. And I mean, it almost seems that way when they get to the factory that Flash and the others are hiding out at. Because when they get there, MJ's like, hey, not to restart the argument, but you never mentioned Flash during that. He taught you the most about right and wrong, didn't he? You're not interested in him at all? And Venom's response is so short here, he's just like, Flash is a good friend. To me anyway. Like, he's so to the point with it. But as they go further in and they're greeted by Flash, it's here where we find out what happened with Toxin. And it's kind of funny how Flash and Sleeper are standing up in the light, while Rick Jones is over back in the shadows standing like he waiting on his moment. Cause when MJ asks Rick how's he feeling, Rick's just like, honestly, I feel good. This was a very wise decision on my part. And hey, I've never been a symbiote before. Why not add it to the list? What's the worst thing that can happen? And now we'll have to stay tuned to see what exactly is going on with this new situation with Rick. But this new look reminds me a lot of him borrowing Bucky Barnes' suit and him training with Captain America, which is something that Rick referenced very recently. But also with Rick saying here, what's the worst that can happen? Well, in the epilogue, we get a tease for what just could be the worst that's getting ready to happen. Cause it's here where we see what looks to be a Chitauri soldier, who does a deep scan on all frequencies before confirming that he's not being followed, just before he changes back into a Skrull. And he is racing to Earth to send the word, or send the message, better yet the warning, that Knull is coming. And now, as it stands, I really have no idea, but I'm hoping that this has some sort of connection to Venom First Host in the Kree-Skrull War, since we know the Skrulls have fought against symbiotes before. But that's something that we'll just have to wait and see. And now, with this being Legacy Issue 249 for All New Venom, this story is going to pick back up with Venom Legacy Issue 250 in the beginning of October. And now between Al Ewing and Charles Soule's writing for what's to come in this series, as far as the return of Knull, which is likely possible because of the conclusion of Venom War, I'm trusting that this is going to be good. But at the same time, with everything we've seen with Knull so far, as well as the current MJ and Venom situation, I can't help but to feel a bit nervous about this one, and I really want to know what you guys think down in the comments. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and let me know what's going on in your mind. How do you feel about the return of Knull, and what are you expecting to see out of this? Because for me, I'm thinking one of two things. Because for one, this has either got to be bigger and better, and there's only one way I could think of doing that, which is giving us the proper final form Venom versus final form Carnage that we were supposed to get. And I'm not talking about that quick one-off we saw in Death of the Venomverse, even though that did look cool. And the other thing I'm thinking is, rather than trying to do King in Black with something grand and spectacular, Just give us a linear story that puts together everything we've learned about Knull, which is a lot at this point, and I'll leave a few of those videos in the description. But with that said, I'll leave it to you guys. Tap in and let me know what you think. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.